To begin this activity, we can go to bit.ly/teachable scratch. When we get here, we'll go to the top of the page and click Teachable Machine. We'll select an image project and standard image model. Next, we'll choose the two gestures that we want the machine to recognize. I'm choosing a question and a heart. We'll enter our gestures as the names for the two classes, then click on the webcam button to start collecting our data. We'll want to go into the settings icon and turn hold to record off. Next, we can click record and start collecting your data. You want to give it as much variation as possible. Here you can see me giving it examples for both my left and right hands, as well as varying the positioning of each hand. When we're done collecting the data for our first class, then we'll move on to the second and repeat the process. When we're done collecting our data, we'll hit the Train Model button. This can take some time, so we might get a prompt that says the page is unresponsive and we just want to hit Wait. This process can take some time, especially on student computers, but when we're done, we'll want to test our model, which you can see me doing here. The model here is performing fairly well, but you can see that when I'm sitting here doing nothing, it's still saying that I'm asking a question. So what I'm doing here is going back and retraining my model by adding in a third class, which is nothing, and I'm training it on all of the data that I don't want to classify as a gesture. We can repeat this testing training loop a few times to improve our model as we notice the types of mistakes that it tends to make. Thinking about the types of mistakes that it makes and how confidently it makes them is a good learning opportunity for students to learn about some of the limitations of AI models more generally. This experience can lead us to questions about the trustworthiness of these models, as well as bringing up problems about AI bias. For example, if I had only trained the question on my right hand and not my left, it probably wouldn't work nearly as well for left-handed people. So there's a lot of responsibility on the programmers to create a representative data set for the types of users that are going to be using their application. Once we're happy with the performance of our model, you'll want to turn your webcam input off, as we'll be using the webcam again in the next step, and only one web browser tab can use it at a time. Next, we'll export our model and upload our model to the cloud. We don't have to worry about privacy concerns here, as we aren't actually uploading any of the images to Google, only the weights of the network. When our model is done uploading, we'll want to copy the link that it gives us and head back over to the Scratch page. Then we'll go into the bottom left and add the extension for Google Teachable Machine. This gives us access to special blocks which we need in order to use Google Teachable Machine in Google Scratch. We'll start by dragging in a When Green Flag Clicked block, and then attaching a Use Model URL below. Paste in the URL that we found in the previous step when exporting our model. After running our code with the green flag and waiting a few seconds, we should see a green checkmark appear in the top left. If you see an exclamation mark, it either means that somebody hasn't run their code, or more than likely, they made a mistake when inputting their URL. This is a good time to walk around the classroom and check that everybody has that green checkmark. Next, we'll add in a loop to our code. It will tell us what our model is currently predicting. This is very helpful for debugging at any point in the process. If we run our code to test it, we should see that it is now saying what our model is predicting. Next, we'll add in a new sprite which will appear on the screen whenever our model is predicting a specific result. One of my gestures is the heart, so I'm going to use a heart sprite. Inside my heart sprite, I'll go in and add in another When Green Flag Clicked block, as well as another loop to run our code. Inside this loop, I'll put an if-then-else statement, which will trigger whenever we get the prediction from our neural network, which is the type of heart. Inside of this if statement, I'll go to the looks blocks and drag and drop in the show and hide block so that the sprite shows itself when the prediction is a heart and it hides itself whenever it's not. After testing this to make sure it works, I'll move on to doing the next sprite. This one I'm going to draw because I'm making a question mark and there isn't an existing question mark sprite. You can also go and find images from the internet and upload those if you would prefer. Now here I could go and repeat a lot of the code that I found in the heart, but instead I'm just going to go back into heart and drag and drop it down into my question and just change the prediction. Now if I test my code, you can see that each sprite is showing up whenever I'm making the associated gesture. If everything works, then congrats, you're done.